As we've changed our food supply, as we've genetically modified organisms, you mentioned glyphosate. As we've sprayed more and more glyphosate into our food supply, have you? Is there evidence that oxalate poisoning has increased?
There are some connections with oxalate, and talked briefly with Stephanie Seneff last fall about this. And one thing that she pointed out to me is that in the later versions of Roundup, which is the major brand of glyphosate that's applied to food and lawns and gardens in your neighborhood, is one of the fixing compounds is an oxalate compound. So they actually put oxalate in Roundup to help it stick more to, I forget what its role is, to stick more to the plants and not wash away and be a more persistent chemical. So that's interesting that oxalate is sort of using its chelating power to help plants maintain the contamination from the glyphosate.
Right.
And just as an aside, because this is another huge topic that's very personally important to me, is that as we can casually go buy Roundup and spray it on whatever because we don't want a little weed by our fence post by the front door, we're breathing that daily for several days as we walk by our front door where we've just applied it. Our dogs are, our children are, and we are, because it re-evaporates every morning in the morning dew. As the dew burns off the next day, it's swirling around in the air unless the wind blows it away completely. So, I mean, that's another example of these sort of synergistic toxicities that just make it worse. But you
That's
don't need
interesting.
all these synergies for oxalate to mess you up, because oxalate was already known as a cause of disease in the 1850s before we had all these other ways to poison ourselves. Plants were doing a fine job of poisoning us without our help.